So I was working on this Ruger Mark IV. One of the grip emblems had fallen out at the range, and so I was going to glue it back in. And I removed the opposite grip, and it is held in snugly, but I'm going to go ahead and degrease and re-glue that. But I noticed when I was taking the grips off that this right side safety eliminator screw was loose. And so I'm going to go ahead and remove it and degrease it and use some Loctite. It takes a 1/16 hex head here. I had put some orange Loctite on it before and degreased it at that time. And I was surprised to see that it's loose again. So I'm going to switch over to use some red. Sometimes the Loctite, it goes bad. I don't know. It looked good. It was new when I tried it. So I'm going to get as much of the oil off of the screw as I can. Just screwing it in through a paper towel here, and then I'm going to spray some of this contact cleaner. It's supposed to be safe for plastics and leave no residue. So I'm just going to spray a little on there to hopefully get rid of the oil. I want the Loctite to have his best chance it can of locking in. So I don't see any residue off the screw. The screw looks totally dry now. So I'm going to go ahead and put a drop of Loctite on here. Kind of hard to get one little drop to come out of this thing, I'll tell you. This is blue here. It says hot medium strength. Ooh, oh man, got it on there. Yeah, it's really hard to get one drop. It's but whatever, got it in there. Hopefully this one will stay in longer than the orange did. The orange was supposed to be high strength removable, and this blue says just medium strength. Got it in there pretty tight, and go ahead and wipe up the excess. I got some on my work station here. That came right up, luckily. That hardly ever happens with me. But anyway, so I'm gonna work on these grips now. There's a lot of oil. I don't know where all this oil comes from. I don't use much oil when I usually put wax on my guns. But evidently I do use a little. But I'm going to set the gun aside because I'm concentrating on these grips here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just go through and wipe as much of the oil off as I can. And that's kind of a, I don't know. So now I'm going to use some contact solvent here and spray it on the, right in that area there. That's where I'm going to be applying some adhesive. It does dry right up. You can see it does dry right off. So I'm going to put some on this one. Yeah, I can see when it dries, it kind of has a haze to it. And I guess I'll do a little in here too, inside the well here. Hope it won't do anything bad to the grip. And I'm also going to do the rivet part, the emblem. Because right in here is where I'm going to be applying the adhesive. So I'm going to mix up some epoxy. I like to use this 2-part epoxy here. I'm going to mix the epoxy up and then get some sandpaper. I'll have plenty of time to work on it before it hardens. I like to use these little paper cups. I get them at my favorite chicken restaurant. They don't seem to care, but they do come in handy for mixing small amounts of epoxy, 2-part. I think the intended use of it was to put ketchup in, I'm not sure. But I like to use them for mixing epoxy. I'll mix this up until it gets it's an equal part A and B. This stuff takes a long time to dry, 24 hours, but that's how you know you've got the good stuff. So I'll mix this up, and I think I've got about 20 or 30 minutes, maybe longer, before I need to apply that. So what I'm going to do now is go get some sandpaper. I'm going to pause this just a second. So I went and got some a little bit of 200 grit sandpaper and an X-Acto knife. So what I'm going to do is sand the backside of this plastic here and rough it up a little bit, because I want the epoxy to have something to grab to. I'm going to do the same thing on this grip here. And I'm going to do the same thing on this rivet. It's a little hard to hold because there's not much there. But I've also got the X-Acto knife. I'm going to be gouging some ridges in there to give it something to grip to. So I've got it kind of scuffed up a little. And then I'll take this blade here and I'm just going to put a few cross scratches in it at different angles there. And I'll flip this over and put a little in there too. Just to give the epoxy something to grip. And on this one, the emblem's already in there, still in there. I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same. Put some gouges in it. They don't have to be much, just enough to hold it in. Of course, I will report back. You know, if I do end up losing my emblems again, I'll let you know. And I might contact Ruger and see what they say about it. But to me, it's just as easy to put some glue on there and then get another set of emblems and have them fall off again. So I'm going to put some epoxy in there. I'm going to fill that little well up on this back side here, inside the rivet. So the rivet will actually have a lot more holding it now. I just have to be careful that I don't build up the epoxy so much that it presents a clearance issue with the gun. If it does, I can just sand the epoxy down a little. But I'm going to go ahead and go over this entire back side here where the rivet was attached. And you can put some heat on the epoxy to make it cure faster. But since I'm in a plastic grip like this, I don't really want to do that with the grip. So this is the one that hadn't fallen out yet, and this one here is the one that has. I'm going to put a little bit inside here in the back. Just down in the bottom here. Not much, because I don't want it squeezing out and being visible. Just a light coating. Because the last thing I want to do is see like gray glue. I'm tempted to put the emblem in at a different orientation. I'm not sure. I think I'll leave that alone though. I want to put some all inside the hole there. And then now comes the tricky part of dropping the emblem in. You can see there's a little bit of epoxy. You can see the gray in there, just a very small amount. Now I'm just going to drop the emblem in. I think I can probably rotate it around with my blade if I don't quite get it right when I drop it. But I think I can do it. Let's see. You can kind of tell by the checkering of the grip. I can see I might need to rotate it just a touch. And let's see if it's even going to let me. Yeah. I think I can also do it this way. Or worst case, I can just push it right back out. Boy, it doesn't even want to come now. That thing is, yeah. Got it stuck up just a little. Maybe I can catch my blade enough to spin it. I don't want to damage it. You know, there we go. That clocked it. And I can push it back in. I don't want to damage the emblem, but I like the red eagle. It's a pretty cool emblem. And now I'm going to put some epoxy on the back here, fill up that well. I looked at the grip carefully. I thought maybe the plastic had cracked or something like that. I couldn't see any cracks. And I compared the what I could see of the rivet on the other one, and they appear to be the same. I couldn't see that one was swollen any more than the other one, so maybe the tolerance of this hole on this side of the grip was a little less. This is the left side grip, and the right side grip stayed on there. It has a part number. It's A400811. Again, 8A as an apple. 400811. That's the one that dropped its emblem. The one that kept the emblem, it retains the right side. That part number is A as an apple, 400810. Again, A 400810. So it'll be interesting if you have one of these Ruger Mark IVs, if your left side drops out, maybe we can figure out then that maybe the tooling was worn or something's different about the one grip than the other. Don't really know. I don't know why it dropped out. It was sitting in the sun, but the way it was sitting in the sun, the right side would have been exposed to the sun, not the left. So I really don't think that was an issue because the right side would have heated up a lot more. So I've got these two grips drying now. They're going to take 24 hours to cure. And what I like to do, I can evaluate, sometimes the epoxy goes bad, you know, and so what I like to do is I keep this little cup of the glue right alongside what I'm working on, and I can tell if the process, if the glue has cured up, I can tell by the sample I have in the mixing cup if it's fully hardened or not. Every now and then I'll get a bad batch or the glue will go bad, you don't realize it. So I just like to keep the cup handy right alongside the work, and so then I know if this cures, then I know that what I glued is also cured. So just wanted to share that with you on the Ruger Mark IV.